franchising is hard work. It's not a slam dunk. It's not something you decide to do today and tomorrow you'll have 100 locations and be royalty sufficient. To get there, it takes a lot of effort and energy, and you're building a whole nother business.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Franchise. I'm your host, Paul Ehlinger, founder and CEO here at Flamelli I as well. Super excited today. I've got my friendship mentor, shout out IFA, Don Abbamondi here from SMB Franchise Advisors. Don, thanks so much for joining us. I'm glad everybody else is going to get a taste of what I get, on our monthly catch-up calls.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Paul. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Don, you are genuinely one of the most experienced people in franchising I personally know. And so I'm excited for that, but maybe give your background a little bit. I know there's a lot to cover, so maybe high level, but let the audience know kind of who you are, what you've done, and what you do now.
So we'll start at the beginning. I went to school for engineering. I was a project manager, worked with some smaller companies, and then settled into my first franchise brand, which was Sunoco and A Plus convenience stores. And that was quite a bit of time ago. I worked on some remodels, supporting new openings, franchise conversions. It really wasn't focused a lot on franchising, but they were full on a franchise brand. We had 225 franchisees. And then I, was tapped to manage a series of acquisitions, which added 850 additional stores to our portfolio.
Just a small project.
Small project. It was over a series of two different projects, but reported to the board of directors, the VP of marketing, VP of operations. And so I made a name for myself. And when a position became available on the marketing team, I applied for it. I really enjoyed working with them, and I became a category manager, and I was responsible for one of the categories I was responsible for was the coffee. We had a proprietary coffee program that I had actually helped roll out to almost 900 stores, and I loved it. I had been part of building that brand, working with the creative teams who created the name, the concept, the logo, the packaging. We did green coffee tasting with our roaster, and just really loved that. And then I managed our brand fund, which at the time wasn't called a brand fund. I had $12 million to spend on behalf of the franchisees and the company operated stores in a 1 year period. And I really learned a lot there and went back to school for my MBA. I didn't finish my MBA. I had my last two classes I took. One was in person, one was virtual when I was pregnant with my daughter.
Yeah.
And flash forward, had 3 kids, was traveling a ton, said, I can't keep doing this. And went to go work for a small regional franchise brand in the Philadelphia area. We had 35 franchisees. I came in to be the person in franchising to work with the founders. So I oversaw everything, including marketing, including new build outs, everything related to brand, training, operations, which was really the one area that I had been looking for. I actually took that job because I wanted to get the operations experience that I wasn't willing to do at Sunoco because of it would have been 35 to 40 stores. It would have been on the road in a car, traveling location to location, supporting franchisees directly. Yeah. And it just wasn't, I was past that in the company. And so I understood peripherally what operations needed in the field support side of it. And so I was able to do that with Fruit Flowers. And my husband and I became franchisees. So 1,000 stores, 35, one.
The systems are probably a little different at each stage, yeah?
They're really different. And so I consider that I got my MBA with street cred. Like I lived it. And so no, I don't have my MBA. And so I really, still have that engineering degree
Have we ever talked about
on the
that? I've
wall.
also dropped out of a graduate school program.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I didn't drop out. I just didn't keep going.
Okay, well, sure. I also didn't keep
Yeah.
going on a graduate program.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've thought about it, and I think someday I'll just have some university grant me an honorary degree in my MBA, and I'll be fine. So no, but I love to learn. I love to continue to educate in any way I can about everything, not just marketing.
Yeah.
You name a topic, and I am very interested in learning more. So I do that every day with our clients on the SMB franchise advisor side, where we help companies who want to become involved in franchising. So our mission is to help brands to prepare, launch, and grow in franchising. And I learn a lot about hundreds of different industries every single day.
Yeah. It's like the coolest part of franchising, in my opinion, is any given day you're talking to somebody and they're doing something that you've never even heard of before. But it is a thing.
Potentially. Yep. I do
At this
get
point,
to have
you've probably heard a lot of them.
repeat conversations, but and a little bit of counseling. Franchising is hard work. It's not a slam dunk. It's not something you decide to do today and tomorrow you'll have 100 locations and be royalty sufficient. To get there, it takes a lot of effort and energy, and you're building a whole nother business. And you are actually, when you decide to franchise, you're leaving the industry that you're in. If it's coffee, if it's professional services as a CMO, or a yoga studio operator, and you name it, you're leaving that business and you're entering a whole nother business in franchising. So
no, I think I absolutely agree. I'm curious, I have to ask, as we know, I'm also an engineer, biomedical engineer back in the day. What caused your shift? Why did you leave engineering?
So it's actually funny. I didn't think that I would leave the engineering team. I had gotten to a point in time where I was pretty much second in line to manage the entire group. And, in addition to the franchise side of the business on the retail marketing, we had a whole other brand that did service station auto repair. We had a quick lube concept called Dynalube, which I helped build. We had 50 locations with that. We had 4,500 retail petroleum fueling locations across the East Coast and out to Indiana, Kentucky. And I really liked working there. There were a couple of things that started to come up, and my direct supervisor was going to retire. And a great guy. He was a hardcore engineer. He just had 3 daughters and had said, "You're next." And I'm going to retire in 2 years. And then the company decided to do a deal with Walmart. And they made a commitment to open 100 Walmart locations under a whole different brand that I helped develop. And they pulled him off of that and hired somebody who was 2 years older than me, who was not going to move out of that position in 2 years. So I kind of took a step back and I said, what do I do now? I like this guy. He's really smart. I like working with him. He's fair. He listens to me. He just wasn't going to move out of that position anytime soon. And so, when the position became available in marketing, there were 2 roles that were available. And I turned to the VP of marketing and I said, I want to throw my hat in the ring. And he said, I welcome you to the team. And it only took a short period of time. And I was pregnant with my son at the time. And they still welcomed me, right? That was a gazillion years ago. And there was a little bit of hazing, They were like, oh, you're the engineer coming to marketing.
Welcome to the marketing team.
Welcome to the marketing team. There's a 2-drink minimum. No, I'm kidding. They didn't ever say that. That's
put the asterisk on there. We've got it. I love that. No, and I think I'm always curious your perspective. Like, I feel like an engineering background can be applied anywhere because all it teaches you is like systems thinking. You just learn to
Yeah.
solve problems in a systemic way. Like, have you felt that throughout your career as well, like coming from that background?
What else is franchising except
Yeah.
a system
Yeah.
with a great brand and a value proposition for the customer?
Yeah.
And that was everything that I had done.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to be fair, I lived with graphic designers and had thought I would go back into a creative field in
Yeah.
architecture. That was where I originally thought I would go. I thought I'd go back to school and get my master's degree in architecture. And I still love that brand related stuff. Like I can see a brand logo from a mile away and know what it is.
Yeah.
And so I think that the process related to opening a new location, supporting a franchisee to become profitable, and then helping them achieve their goals is very relatable in my history as an engineer. And I'll never give up that training.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be a PE. I know that in biomedical, that wasn't something that you would do.
We didn't have to get licensed. It was the best thing ever.
No. In my field, if I had wanted to stay in engineering and design, which I didn't pursue, I pursued the project management side. And it just makes sense. It clicks.
Yeah. How did you, so I know, in marketing, it's very left and right brained, right? It's creative, but it's also very quantitative. Like, did you always feel like you had that creative side, or was that something you've developed over your career, as you've gotten deeper and deeper into marketing?
So I think I always had some level of creativity in my bones, I guess, in my gut. I did have to learn to draw as in engineering. Like that wasn't something that I had as a skill set, and taking architectural studio classes. I just sketched out an email marketing concept with my marketing person yesterday, and I'm like held up I'm like, this is what I want it to look like.
Same thing.
Right. So
do you have like grid paper still? Are you using grid paper as you?
I do, but it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever paper is, I doodle all the time. I love coming up with new acronyms. What does the mission? Why does your brand have this mission? What is the value proposition for the customer? I'm a little opinionated about brands, and I live in an area where franchising isn't as popular. I'm in a very historic neighborhood, and so it's not that franchising is a bad name. It's just it doesn't necessarily have the traffic to justify, even though the rents might be really suitable for and friendly to franchise owners. There's just not enough traffic volume in my particular area, and so I always think, I would love to be able to help small business owners be better. And what I focused on in my world is franchising. But who knows? I might become a SCORE volunteer someday. I'm not ready to do that yet, but I'd be happy to help small business owners in the future with improvement.
That's cool. You kind of talk on that, building an effective brand, a meaningful brand, and a recognizable brand. What, and you've now helped do that, I don't know, hundreds of times, a lot of times, especially, in your career at SMB. What's the number one rule for that? Like, how, if you're working with a new founder or a new brand, like, how do you work with them to make sure it is recognizable and it is noticeable?
So that isn't necessarily all that I do. So I definitely want them to work with an agency.
Yeah.
But what is different about their brand? What is going to set them out? There is, obviously there are lots of competing concepts, and they can all be successful. But how is the brand different? And then how do you build everything around that? It's your client-facing positioning, your customer, unique selling proposition. How does their logo and trade dress follow all the way through that consumer journey? And being dedicated to articulating that out for your franchisees. As the founder, I have conversations with founders all the time, and they're like, I don't spend any money on marketing. I'm like, that's great for you. You are the one who's driving this, and it's the customer the customer relationship that you have that has made your business in one area locally successful. Now you have to take that out into a new market where nobody has ever heard of it. They may or may not know the product, and they don't know the people behind it. So franchisees are going to have to showcase the brand. And so, I love innovation, and I think that brands need to continue to evolve, and it's never going to be perfect. So don't wait until it is to go to market.
Yeah.
If you can go to market and then tweak it as you go, that's really, I think, how you need to do it. And I'm not saying to continue to tweak it every day, every month, and make franchisees rebrand because that's expensive, right?
Right.
But don't hesitate. It's now or never, or now or tomorrow, and tomorrow is always going to be tomorrow.
Tomorrow's going to be harder too, because it's going to be bigger, more complicated, all of that.
Or you're losing the opportunity that you had yesterday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I love that. You touch on a point that resonates with me a lot, which is kind of the founder-led sales, right? Like up front, when it's all founder-driven, they're small, they're building it. Obviously, that's how we are here at Flamel. And I think it's a hard thing to transition out of, right? And
for sure.
because it's your baby, I've thought about this 24/7 for how long, but you got to let it live in the world. Like, how do you coach people there? How would you coach me there, as their businesses expand?
Yeah, you got to let them fly. You got to let them out of the nest.
Yeah.
And if you have kids, which I know you don't, you just have to trust that they're going to do the right thing, and they might fall down and they might need a Band-Aid, and you have to be there to help them. But if you get to the point where you believe that you want to franchise or expand with a team, you just have to trust that you've trained them well and you've given them the guidelines and the guardrails to make it even bigger.
Yeah.
And come at it with a different perspective. I mean, that's the one thing that I love. I like collaborating with people. I don't work really well in a silo by myself. I am not the most creative by myself.
Yeah.
I'm a little, squirrel, like, oh, that's distracting. I am a little bit like founders from that perspective. But if we get on a call, we get in the room, we sit down at the table and we start, I love to bounce ideas off of each other. And it's really stream of consciousness. And it's, that sparked something else that sparked this, that became this brilliant idea. And I am happy to be the collaborator and not just say, that was my idea. Although I do love it when a client goes to market and it's something that I help them create.
You see it out in the wild and you're like,
I am internally proud. Like, they're my little baby. I'm really excited.
You have every right to be. Yeah.
And let them be successful and let them share that with franchisees and find, a way to be happy doing what you do every day.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I'm curious, kind of talking about the beginning stages of a brand there and starting to grow it and launch it. You've been a part of obviously very scaled brands, as we've talked about. How do you see those differences there? Because obviously way easier to iterate and kind of build when you're young and early and still kind of figuring things out. What does that look like when I'm at 500, 1,000 units, and then all of a sudden I want to keep that iterative spirit? What are your thoughts there on kind of those differences and how to surmount them?
You don't get stuck. Don't just think that the way we did it yesterday is the right way, because that is why brands fall apart and fade away into nothingness. So there are complete Blockbuster, right? Yeah. That brand is gone because they didn't innovate. And so, and it's sad, right? Because think about all that real estate and all of those franchisees that invested so much. And I wasn't part of that brand at all. But even, we've seen company operated brands that were built that have gone away. And so, I think that I remember having a conversation a long time ago at the IFA with a multi-unit owner with a large not convenience store, quick service restaurant brand. And I don't know, he had 3 different brands, all fast food. and social media was just coming on.
Yeah.
And he goes, I can't compete with these independent, fast casual concepts that are healthy food, that are going to be priced similar to what I have to offer. And they're taking my market share away because people are starting to be a little bit healthier. And then Facebook and then Instagram and, it just all evolved. And I'm seeing that too now with AI. And so these smaller brands that can leverage the technology,
they can do more with
leapfrog, they could do so much more with less. And so I know it's harder to move that brand in a different direction. So you got to put a team on it and you have to invest in the change, but don't be afraid to adopt new things. And create a little task force, get your team, get some franchisees on it, bring in some suppliers, leverage the people who are supporting your brand. If you're at 200 or 500 or 1,000, and just know that if you don't innovate, you might not be here in 2, 5, 10 years.
Yeah. No, Blockbuster's a great one there too, right? Because I think of AI, it's very similar to like the internet revolution, where it's just like it creates so much more efficiency that you just need so many fewer human and capital resources to do it. And to your point, it's a leapfrog period. Like there's going to be brands that are 50 units right now that are going to be 1,000, and that incumbent is going to just dry up over the next 5 to 10 years because they don't take advantage of like the go-to-market efficiencies.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Blockbuster was a shame. I have good memories as a kid of like, it was exciting to go into a Blockbuster. Like it was like a visceral experience to hold the thing and make the decision,
And could you get popcorn with it?
You could.
There was the whole, it was
I always
the whole
got a bag of
experience
M&Ms with it, it was great.
Yep.
Can't get that on Netflix.
No, and you'd run into friends and you'd be like, "Oh, we saw this.
What did
this
you
would
see?
Be great." Or, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. That's super interesting. What do you as you're thinking about that, like brands stagnate because they don't take advantage of technology or the changing times. We talked to Brooke Budke on this show. So she was president at Title Boxing. She now runs Momentum Brands. And she was talking about how brands are not taking advantage of Gen Z enough now because they're getting into that buying, decision-making power time in their lives. They think inherently differently than you, me, other people. Mm-hmm. How do you go about coaching brands there, especially some of those older brands where, their initial customers are 20 years older than they were now, and they don't even fit in their demographic anymore that they're trying to target? What does that conversation look like? How do you think about that?
I think you have to listen to those customers. I mean, to be honest, those customers have been making buying decisions since before they had an allowance, to be honest. They influence their parents. I mean, a friend of mine just posted how her daughter finagles her into buying a new squishy softies fluffy thing every time she goes on a trip because she doesn't want to give one up to send with her mom on the vacation. And so the whether it's the 20-year-old who did that when they were 5, mm-hmm. or it's the 35-year-old now who's looking at, do they rent a house or rent an apartment or do they buy a home?
Yeah.
They may not want to buy a home.
Yeah.
Because they want to live downtown and be involved in the music scene, the restaurants that are where they'd like to be. Yeah. And so I think in every way you have to listen. I was one of those people where for a long time I was the youngest one in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I always want to hear what they have to say. The question is whether or not they will tell me. Mm-hmm. But they will tell you, whether it's one-to-one or it's in a text message or it's what they post on social media.
Yeah.
You just have to listen. And if you want to find out, it's there. You just have to go find it.
Yeah. How important do you think that is? So it's now come up on a few different episodes we've done where, we'll be talking to a president of a brand or something, and they say, hey, one of the unique advantages I had is I was my customer. And like everything I wanted to buy or use was just, that's what we built. That's not always the case, right? And you see brands that they're building for demographics outside of them. How important then do you think it is to like build that target demographic expertise within the team, on the marketing team, on the go-to-market team, or anything like that, so that you have in-house kind of that perspective?
Oh, yeah, no, we just hired a couple people in their 20s, and I think that we needed to do it sooner. And we didn't bring them on full time, but we definitely had people who were coming in and dropping in to do special project work. And so, yeah, our clients now are younger and younger, and I'm not saying that they're younger than me. That's a given. Because there are people my age who are starting their own business.
Yeah.
But why do I want to do that? I'd rather be a franchisee than start a new business from scratch and take advantage of what somebody else has built to give us a base. But your customers should be reflective of who's on your team. Otherwise, you may not relate to them. And so, I also don't want you to stay in a demographic and say that's 80% of your customer base and then ignore everything else, because that's how you become irrelevant.
Right.
So I think you have to kind of decide, is it, what's that mix of customer base, and how do you appropriately blend in your service offering, your product offering to the customers that you want to target, and have a good balance. But yeah, you can't ignore one demographic.
And hope it just works out
over another. Yeah. Even if let's pick on the oldest one, right? Let's look at senior care. And if you only think of the person who is 65 and up,
all those buying decisions from their adult children.
Their adult children are trying to help them. And my advice to them is, don't try and parent your parents. So I'll put that out there. It's very hard to do. But how do you engage the 35 to 40 to 55-year-old person to help mom or dad or their grandparents make a decision that is right for them before it's too late?
It's crazy how much of that. So Caring Transitions is here in town with us, and we actually talked to Kyle Costco about this on here, their VP of marketing. And he really leaned into like how much education and empathy are two big pillars of their marketing, because of exactly that reason, where they've got to help these adult children make some of the most difficult decisions of their life, right? In terms of like, hey, what do we do with mom now, or what do we do with our parents? It's definitely hard and definitely interesting to have to deal with those things. But it does, to your point, lay out that the end consumer isn't always the exact person we need to market to and message to.
Right. And it's not something that's ever a full-time role that you have. You're balancing a busy work schedule, you're building a career, maybe you're studying. I know plenty of people who are still in their, 20s who have helped parents or grandparents make those decisions. And it's never easy, and you can't maybe relate to it. But I've also known people who have been very, very young and have had an injury that have kept them at home way before virtual meetings could even take place. And they weren't able to do what they could have done in today's technology, and had to make decisions about their career based on physical issues. So, gotta love technology.
I agree. I'm biased, but I agree. Transitioning a little bit, you've been you kind of talked through your experiences over the past couple of decades in franchising. What's the biggest shift been in your opinion? Like, you were just at IFA in Las Vegas. Like, compare that to maybe the first time you went to like a franchising event or industry thing. What's the biggest difference? What have you noticed if you were to pull yourself out and look at it from a 10,000 foot view?
For me, it's been that I know people better. Every time you go, I think that you learn something new. I always feel that way. And, I didn't start going to IFA events as my first big conferences. The first conferences I went were in the retail marketing side of the world, where there were 20,000 people there. And I worked for a big enough brand that those big supplier partners kind of came to us first,
Yeah.
brought their information. So for me, going to those trade shows or those events were to reinforce the relationship and to make sure that there wasn't anything else that we weren't thinking of. Sure, M&M Mars and Hershey and RJ Reynolds and you name the big brands, they were Coca-Cola and Pepsi, Schweppes, they were there talking to us.
Yeah.
But did we go in and we found this other niche, something that was different? And so for me, that's what I like going to see. It's not just, and we're an exhibitor, we're a supplier, you're an IFA supplier, we're happy to support the IFA. And you give a little bit of halo credit to those companies that are supporting the brands at that level. The new ones, take your company, for example. Let's see, what do you have to offer? You are trying to bring something that you think is going to add value to a franchise brand. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. You wouldn't be in the room. And so I like to look at the new suppliers and the new service offerings, and then also continue to build on those relationships, because I always meet somebody else and I want to bring them into the circle and help them where maybe that was me 20 years ago. And if I can make an introduction and they connect with me on LinkedIn and I can introduce them to a company that they can either help or become a part of, there's room for everybody in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
There really is.
Very big pie.
Very, very big pie.
Yeah.
So
No, I love that. And maybe on that a little bit, a good time to build into that. You know, you're a very big advocate for both franchising in general, for women in business. I think, you know, it comes across publicly that you take it very seriously and you spend your time on it. And I'm like a beneficiary of that, right? Even so, maybe talk to us about that. Like how, you know, working with the Women's Franchise Committee, like how have you seen female opportunities change throughout the last few years? You know, you kind of talk about getting into business and engineering early in your career, which I can only imagine what that would have been like, knowing how to this day even male dominated it is. But maybe talk into your experiences there a little bit.
Yeah, so there were, for every female in my program, there were 6 men.
There you go. Yep,
and that was a really low ratio compared to like chemical engineering, which was maybe 1 to 30.
Yeah.
So, I fortunately have a mom, a grandmother, and a great grandmother that went to college.
No way.
So
that's
when
actually
I
kind of
decided
crazy.
I wanted to, when I wanted to go to school for engineering, they're like, go for it. Like, why would you not?
Obviously, you should. Yeah.
You should. And so I had that support from home, and all of my dad, my grandparents, everybody supported me in that way too. And so for me, I don't think I ever looked at it that I was a woman going into engineering. I was just a student going into a program that I wanted to be a part of.
Sure.
First and foremost, which maybe is a little bit of a different perspective, but also because I had that support on the back end.
Yeah.
And I had teachers in school, both female and male teachers, who said, you can do this. And I've realized over the last 20 years that not everybody had that same support. And so from my perspective, I want to be that voice to somebody else who didn't have it personally or professionally. And nobody can tell you that you can't do something except yourself.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, I live by that personally as well. I think it definitely fits. I think what's interesting too is within franchising specifically, there is a strong cohort of like women leaders. Like it's very obvious. You guys do a fantastic job of like putting yourself in places that make it like unavoidable. And I mean that in the best sense of the word, where it's just like, yes, if you want to do things in this business and in this industry, you got to work with us, and we're going to be there. We're going to show up. We're going to be full of energy. We're going to do the thing.
And show up is part of it. And if you're, so like I said, I've had the support of people who have been older or have been a leader or the owner of the company. You know, Steve Biegelman, I have to say thank you to him. He was the one who said, I want you to go to annual leadership conference, sign up for it. It's extra money. You have to go in early, and you are going to love these speakers.
Yeah.
And so I had that from the beginning when I joined SMB in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been there before with brand, but you have to go. And if somebody is listening and they've heard about annual leadership conference, it's $250. You just have to sign up for it. If you're already coming to IFA, come in a day early. So again, okay, same flight cost. You're going to have to pay for one more hotel room.
Yeah.
But be there. And you just never know who you're going to sit next to. I sat next to the founder of Nothing Bundt Cakes in 2006.
That's crazy.
At IFA, and just sat down and had a conversation with her. They didn't even have any franchisees yet.
That's so wild. It is. I can vouch for everybody listening. I took this advice this year and went to my first one this year. And I mean this in the best of ways. It's the best money I've ever spent on IFA in any way, shape, or form. It is a fantastic experience. To mirror your experience, to my left was the president of Great Clips, and to the right was the CEO of Anytime Fitness Australia. I was like, okay, this is wild,
Yeah. You're never going to have meaningful conversations with them on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You have to be in the room.
Yeah, it is night and day difference. I mean, just the amount you learn. Like, did you know that 3% of Australians are Anytime Fitness members? That's a crazy number.
I did not. That is a crazy number. That is. They really have market domination there, huh?
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, definitely do that. I agree. It was such a not even that the rest of the show wasn't good. It was just the best 4 hours is how I would describe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I love the case study. I always learn something from the case study and what a company went through. How did they solve it?
Oh, yeah.
How would you do it differently?
I could have done like 5 more of those.
Yeah.
They were just, it was fun, It's like so nerdy, but it's so fun to sit there and be like, we're solving a hypothetical business problem. But it's like, no, it's actually a really enjoyable activity.
It was a real problem.
Yeah.
It was a real problem. They've already solved it, and maybe differently than you would have.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I love that. And I think, I know some of the answer you'll give here, but like, what advice would you give to people entering the industry, be them a woman, a man, young, old, anything like that? I think a couple of the things you've always told me, right, are just like, go be known, go like talk to people, ask for advice, do the thing. But what else would you kind of build on top of that there?
Yeah. If you have an idea and nobody is talking about it, raise your hand. Make your voice heard.
Yeah.
I think that is the one thing. And I would also not go, if you're a supplier and you join the IFA, I think you do have to listen before you think that you're just going to walk away with 10 new clients.
Yeah.
Right. It is a very welcoming community, but it's also a very established community. And so people will welcome you in, but if you come in and think that you're just going to take over and gain market share, even 3%, right, of market share, that may not be a slam dunk. And so I think it's give what you can share freely, not services, not deliverables to new clients, but share what you have to share from your background, from your experiences, from your innovative thought process. Yeah. And people will listen. And if it resonates, they'll have a conversation, and then you'll get to know them and they'll introduce you to people that they know. And that's how it works.
Yeah. No, I love that. Definitely take Dawn's advice, people. It works. Jumping into a fun part of the show, we always like to do a little rapid fire section. So question followed by, let's call it 5 to 10 second answer. Sound good to run down it?
Absolutely. I'm ready.
Right. What franchise brand, besides one of your clients, which is kind of a hard thing to say for you, do you admire most or are most excited about, and why?
I admire Ace Handyman Services. They were Handyman Matters. They started in 2000-ish, and they were acquired by Ace. I think that they've continued to innovate, and I like the way they go to market with W-2'd craftsman employees.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's one thing people would never guess about you, other than that you might use a typewriter for your daily writing?
I don't use a typewriter for daily writing. I have been blogging for over 10 years, every day.
Really? Every day? Wait, what's the
Every day.
topic?
Life, family,
Interesting.
children, marketing,
How cool is it to
brands.
look back on that? Like, do you just like randomly click back to like 7 years ago and just look into like what you were thinking back then?
I will. Yeah. Some of them come back, and I do have some favorites
Yeah.
that talk about different topics. One I talked about when my mother-in-law got sick,
Mm.
and how important family was. That was really in honor of her and what she had
Awesome.
given to all of us. Farms are really important. Good food, being local.
Yeah.
That was another one. Yeah.
That's cool. I love that.
I don't know.
It's super interesting. Best piece of advice for a new chief marketing officer that's just coming into franchising.
Don't try and do everything yourself. Surround yourself with a good team.
I love that. And then gonna change up the one I had on the list here, but like favorite new technology that you've been touching. Like I would guess you, like everybody else, have been trying out all the different AI tools and all the different things. That's like, what's the coolest one you've found? You know, franchising, your job specific or not. The past year.
I do use ChatGPT,
Yeah,
and it's not that I think it's the coolest, but it's the one that I've become the most comfortable using.
yeah.
So I have it on my phone. I had it help me rewrite a graduation script when my daughter graduated
Nice.
because I was tired of listening to boring graduation speeches.
Yeah.
And in 15 seconds, it spit out something way better than what I had just heard for the last hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's an amazing 0 to 1 tool. Like I use it as just like somebody to throw ideas off of. I think it's so fun with that.
Yeah. I crafted a cocktail for my son when he turned 21.
My wife and I literally just used it for that. She was going to like a book party about some book, and so we gave it the character, and then it crafted a drink based off the character. Oh, that's fantastic,
We did it. I did it based on the flavors that he likes, and he was turning 21. I'm like, let's create a cocktail for him.
Let's get a craft cocktail. I love that. And that wraps up our rapid fire section. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That was fun.
You're very welcome. Not so fast. Sorry.
It's all good. Getting to the end, always like to, like any good late night show host, give you, your 30 seconds minute just to talk about what you're thinking about right now. Where should people find you? What do you want them to know about you?
People can always find me on LinkedIn, although I will be honest and say that if you send me a direct message on LinkedIn and I don't get back to you right away, I will. I am on email all the time, but I am balancing dozens of clients at any given moment. So I will definitely get back to people. I definitely want to have that zero inbox scenario. So Dawn at smbfranchising.com. That's DAWN. For those of you somewhere else in the country, it's not DON. And don't hesitate to reach out, I think is really my last thought.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I will second it for Dawn. She's super helpful, great to talk to, and just generally fantastic. So on that note, thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate it.
Definitely. I've enjoyed it. Thank you, Paul.
Well, fantastic. And everybody, thanks for listening to us. Definitely check out Dawn, check out SMB Franchise Advisors. They're pretty well known, so I wouldn't guess we're going to hit anybody who doesn't know you guys. But if you don't know Dawn, go talk to her. She's fantastic. And thank you for listening to another episode of Behind the Franchise. And we look forward to talking to you at the next one. Bye.